Hello, everyone. We are pleased to have you join us for the second annual Cardinal Health Lab Exchange. Welcome to today's live broadcast, Changing Landscape of Vaccine Storage. I'm Julianne Child of LabRoots, and I'll be your moderator for today's event. Today's webcast is presented by LabRoots.com, the leading social media site for science professionals, and sponsored by Panasonic Healthcare Corporation. Panasonic Healthcare Company of North America is committed to providing innovative technological solutions for healthcare and life sciences needs. Focused business efforts will include the Panasonic digital hearing instruments and pharmacy automation technology, and biomedical and other life science support products of Panasonic Biomedical Solutions Division. Before we start, there are a few instructions. We want to hear from you during this interactive broadcast, so please ask questions or leave us a comment. Answers welcome too. You can do this by hitting the green Q&A button at the lower left of the presentation window and typing in the comments and questions. We'll try to get to as many as we can, and we'll follow up if we don't have more time today. Want a better look? You can enlarge the slide window by clicking the screen icon in the lower right-hand corner of the slide window. If you can't see this presentation properly, let us know by clicking the support button on the top right, or use the Q&A button. We'll make sure we try to resolve any issues. Today's presenter is Joe LaPorte, Director of Product and Marketing, Panasonic Healthcare Corporation. I will now turn it over to Joe for his presentation.
Well, hello everyone. Sorry for that. We have, on our end, we can't hear everything that's going on. So I'm just going to segue into this right away. Thank you very much for the introduction. And thank you everyone for joining us here today. Today my name is Joe LaPorte, so I was introduced. And I've been involved with laboratory product for about 30 years. And I've seen a lot of changes within the laboratory product areas and for critical storage, quite a bit in that time. And what I've seen is that as far as product is related, that in the United States, there's been a lot of focus lately on changes to how product should be stored, in particular vaccine. So today, we're going to spend some time talking about vaccine storage products and what the changes are coming within the U.S. landscape related to CDC and related to some of the challenges that we're seeing for end users on how vaccine and biologic products should be stored within laboratory refrigerators and freezers in particular. So to start off with, some of the things that we wanted to discuss were related to how vaccines are supposed to be stored. There's a lot of confusion in the market with end users related to the requirements of the individual state mandates on how vaccines should be stored in refrigerators and freezers, the vulnerability and threats to vaccines, trying to interpret the CDC recommendations for vaccine storage, and related to that, what's happening with upcoming changes that are likely to happen within the storage landscape. So some of the things as they come up here, if you have any questions or specifics related to any of the issues we're discussing here or some of the solutions that we are going to be talking about, certainly bring them up. We can either discuss them now or at the end in the question and answer session, or we can discuss them later, or you can send us an email specific to any questions you might have. So one of the things related to vaccine cold chain management, and I know for those of you that administer vaccines or are involved in vaccines, the storage requirements are just related to the refrigerators and freezers themselves, or specifically where the vaccine should be stored, when you're working with them, or when you're administering them. So obviously the product comes from the vaccine manufacturers through distribution, it arrives at your facility, and then they are stored for sometimes long-term and sometimes short-term requirements. And there's a lot of questions related to how you make sure that you maintain the viability of those vaccines as they go through the cold chain, and particularly what you should be doing related to the management of the vaccines. The reason for some of the questions as they come up for storage is there are several studies out there, and there are several internal studies within the U.S. and other countries that are showing that up to from between 14 and 35% of vaccines are subject to accidental freezing. Sometimes that's within the cold chain distribution. Sometimes that's within the storage requirements. Sometimes it's product just being compromised throughout the whole process. So one of the issues related to vaccine storage is concerning really no official standards within the United States for vaccine storage equipment. There is a toolkit from the CDC that I know many are very familiar with for the Vaccine for Children program that outlines storage requirements for refrigerators and freezers. But there is a lot of confusion. We get it often here at Panasonic where customers are asking us questions. What's the proper product for storing either frozen or refrigerated vaccines? So what I'm going to try to do here is remove some of the confusion that customers and end users may have and try to explain some of the things that are happening within the industry and within several steering committees related to how to make sure that everyone is making informed decisions on vaccine storage. Within this slide that you may be seeing here, there is a picture of a lineup. Some of you may remember this. Back, I believe, in 2009, when H1N1 was all anyone was talking about, there was huge lineups for H1N1 vaccine. Like many vaccines, if it's not stored properly or is accidentally frozen, the vaccine becomes ineffective. And what that creates is, if you look at all the people that are in that line, you can't help but wonder how many of them were actually immunized against it. And what would happen in the case of a pandemic if some of the vaccines weren't effective. And we've all seen situations like that where we wonder whether we got the right immunization against the right strain. And a lot of the concerns really are related to how the product is stored. So there is a group that's getting involved with making sure that everyone can make informed decisions, as we'll talk about here. And we'll talk about some of the solutions that we at Panasonic provide related to the storage of vaccines. So the whole idea here is to try to clear up some of the confusion about how you should store product and what type of product that you should be storing vaccines within, whether they be frozen vaccines for chicken pox or shingles, or whether they be refrigerated vaccines or biologics for just about everything else. So some of the concerns are related to the fact that the vial sizes, not so much the vials themselves. We've all seen vaccine vials, but there's a lot of products that are being released by the pharmaceutical manufacturers that are pre-filled syringes. Fluzone, for example, from Sanofi is a 0.1 mil sample within a pre-filled syringe for a micro-injection system. And there's many others that have been on the market for quite some time, as they're listed out here. But all of these doses are very small. And when you have a very small dose, if you are storing in a refrigerator that could accidentally freeze product, it really doesn't take much time, whether they're in the box, whether they're still sitting in the tray. We have to make sure that, because there's no visual indications that the vaccines have been compromised, we have to make sure that the storage of the product or the refrigerators themselves do not allow the vaccine products to be frozen at any time. So the challenges for us as manufacturers are increased, especially as the vials get smaller or the pre-filled syringes get smaller, as in it really doesn't take much time if a refrigerator drops below freezing to freeze that product and make it ineffective. So the question becomes, okay, why is this a problem and what are the solutions? In related to this slide here that I'm on now speaks toward frozen vaccines. In the United States, Zostavax and Varivax and several other vaccines that are lyophilized require, until they're reconstituted, to be frozen. And there are some biologics as well that are emerging on the market that have the same storage conditions. But the good news related to this is that the requirements, basically the package inserts, which are what everyone focuses on for the storage requirements, are all between minus 15 degrees centigrade and minus 50. As I'll talk about in a moment here, we're relating everything to degrees Fahrenheit because that's typically what's used in the scientific and the pharmaceutical industry as our standard for temperature measurements. So this does, of course, translate to Fahrenheit, but it's easier to track temperatures and using Celsius as opposed to Fahrenheit, simply because 0 degrees Celsius is the frozen point. And that's what us as manufacturers are focused on, is making sure that products remain above that temperature. But in a frozen application, the requirements for the shingles vaccine and the chickenpox vaccine within the United States requires storage temperatures between minus 15 and minus 50. So in these applications, what I'm showing here is a chart on what a typical domestic combo unit or a domestic freezer does as far as temperature control is concerned. What many end users are not aware of is that many domestic freezers have defrost cycles that are based on time. And often these defrost cycles will occur for an extended period of time to make sure that all the ice is removed from the inside of the unit. And during this defrost period, the temperature does spike quite significantly in most cases. So when that happens, the temperature inside the unit can rise above minus 15, and over time that can have a detrimental effect on the storage requirements for the vaccines. So in these cases, when we're dealing with frozen vaccine product, we want to make sure that we're storing in a freezer that maintains the temperature at all times below the package insert requirements of minus 15. Very few domestic products, there are some, but very few domestic products are capable of storing at temperatures that cold for extended periods of time without introducing temperature spikes related to defrost. So when we look at the requirements, so we have two things we have to worry about here, and what we're concerned with within the market is trying to help guide the end users in making proper product selections related to how products should be stored. So we have both refrigerators where vaccines are required to be stored almost universally, not only in the United States, but through the World Health Organization, and the package inserts related to vaccines of 2 degrees centigrade to 8 degrees centigrade. Those are the storage requirements for vaccines. And obviously when you take them out of the refrigerator or you're doing inventories, the temperature is going to rise above that. But the major concern is related to refrigerators is making sure that the refrigerators that are chosen for vaccine storage do not freeze the product. And that is very critical. And we have seen from our perspective as a manufacturer of critical storage products, we do see several products on the market, not ours, but several products that are advertised for vaccine storage that do create the potential to freeze product because of the temperatures dropping below 0 degrees centigrade based on the control systems. So to counter that, last year there was an NSF committee formed of many stakeholders within the industry within the United States to try to combat this issue. And this NSF committee was brought together from stakeholders, from state inspector organizations, pharmaceutical companies, the FDA, CDC themselves, and end users, pediatricians. There are many different observers and many different voting members within this committee. The goal is to come up with a standard for vaccine storage for both refrigerators and freezers. That's the goal of this committee. So throughout this organization, of which I'm a member, we have had many discussions, some face-to-face meetings, many telephone conversations, with all of the stakeholders to come up with a new standard for how vaccines should be stored. The end goal is to create an NSF certification, which also becomes an ANSI standard. ANSI standing for American National Standards Institute, related to how vaccines should be stored. So for those of you working in laboratory applications, you may be familiar with NSF related to biological safety cabinets. There is an NSF standard number 49 related to how biological safety cabinets should be designed and tested. Same organization. And NSF International is, as I mentioned, trying to come up with, as we're working within the group, to come up with a new standard to make sure that everyone can make informed decisions. The end goal of this committee is to require that manufacturers or that products that are stored for vaccine applications carry an NSF seal, very much like biosafety cabinets, so that end users can make an informed decision on how vaccines are stored and what products they should be purchasing. And in this case, the goal is to administer for the Vaccine for Children program, which is the, as end users know, is the vaccine program for children administered by CDC using government funds to make sure that children of school age are properly immunized. And the goal is to provide a requirement for NSF certification on products that are used for those applications. So as we go through this, if being a stakeholder within this committee, trying to help reach our goal of ensuring the viability of the vaccine chain within the United States, if anyone has any comments, we certainly would like to hear it from end users that are watching this video. So as I mentioned, it's sponsored by NSF, members from industry, stakeholder, pharmaceutical companies, FDA, CDC, United States Pharmacopoeia. And what a lot of end users are not aware is that there are 44,000 providers within the United States of the Vaccine for Children program. So that's a lot of responsibility. That's a lot of vaccines being administered, mainly through pediatricians, and in many cases through retail outlets as well, such as the chain drugstores and the chain stores that administer vaccines. And within that, the goal is to make sure that all refrigerators and freezers that are used for vaccine are properly certified to follow the NSF certification requirements. So part of this related to the discussions we've had within the committee is to ensure that, again, that we provide units, as manufacturers, we provide units that keep vaccines safe. That's our goal. And to avoid freezing on products that are not supposed to be frozen, which is the majority of vaccines that need to be stored between 2 and 8. And also part of the committee, as I mentioned, is involved with ensuring that we have products that are capable of maintaining temperature for both minus 15 degree storage to minus 50, as well as refrigerators. So part of that is another consideration to allow combo units. In the initial CDC guidelines, they recommend against domestic combo units, and the main reason for that is the design criteria that domestic refrigerator freezer combination units are designed by. Without getting too technical, a lot of it is related to controlling the temperature of the freezer and bypassing airflow into the refrigerator, which can often at times create ununiform temperature within the refrigerators and freezers themselves. So the CDC, working with NIST, National Institutes of Standards and Technology, have come up with a standard that have suggested that combo units not be used for the storage of vaccines for both freezers and refrigerators. There are exceptions, though. As we're moving through this system, we are creating a discussion related to combo units, which many of the critical storage manufacturers within the U.S. and overseas provide. that allow for separate control systems for the refrigerator and freezer, where the refrigerator and freezer sections of combo units are kept isolated from each other with separate controls to make sure that both the refrigerator and the freezer section maintain the viable temperatures for protecting vaccine storage. So those units that pass the test and that are laid out within the requirements for the committee and the NSF certification will be allowed to sell product for the VFC program and for the vaccine storage requirements within the United States as we move through this program. So what are the ideal requirements? Of course, refrigerators, anything that is capable of maintaining temperatures, consistent temperatures for the vaccines between 2 and 8 degrees centigrade. For us, as manufacturers, that means that we need to be able to produce products with a 5-degree set point, 5-degree C set point, that has a uniformity at all places where the product can be stored, where the uniformity is plus and minus 3 degrees centigrade. That gives us our 2 to 8 degree range. So anything that falls outside of that range or even approaches freezing, or even worse, drops below freezing, will not be considered acceptable. So as far as end users are concerned, what you need to request, or what I suggest you request, is that manufacturers provide an analysis of what their uniformity is for their product to ensure that wherever you're storing refrigerated vaccines and frozen vaccines, that the manufacturer can support the claims of being able to meet the vaccine storage requirements with a uniformity mapping of the equipment itself. As an example of that, sometimes you will see refrigerators that have a fan on the top where the refrigeration coils are located, and there will be a line on the side of it that says load line for the product, not to exceed the load line. What we have discussed within the committee is that many end users, when they get stock in or they don't have enough room in their refrigerators, will often overfill the refrigerators so that sometimes vaccine products can be stored directly underneath the fan. In those situations, it is possible on some units to be inadvertently freeze vaccine products because it's directly in the airflow coming out of the refrigeration system. So part of the discussion we've had within the organization is to include barriers within vaccine storage units so that end users cannot store product, physically store product where it is not appropriate. So the idea is to create barriers and restrictions so that vaccines aren't stored in inappropriate areas to ensure that we maintain the viability of the cold chain. Many manufacturers already have these features built into their equipment. We at Panasonic, of course, are no exception. Some of the units you see behind me here are examples of our product that are used specifically for vaccine storage and for in the pharmaceutical industry for critical product storage to maintain both the 2 to 8 degree requirement for major biologics, as well as the minus 15 to minus 50 degree requirements. One of the units that you do see behind me on the picture is a double door unit off to this unit behind us here. We call that the MPR 215F. We've had that available for quite some time. The solid door on the bottom is a freezer section. We're capable of reaching temperatures, consistent temperatures on that, to minus 30. There is a settable range on that, of course, but minus 30 gives us much protection for frozen vaccines and for packs. A lot of our customers are using the gel packs for cold chain management and for transport. That freezer, it can be used for both applications, for both vaccine storage for frozen products and for gel packs as well. The refrigerator section in the top part of that unit does have barriers to prevent product from being pushed too far to the back so that we're not blocking airflow, and it maintains throughout the whole inside of the chamber plus or minus 3 degree uniformity easily. within those units to ensure that we are not freezing product and that we are maintaining critical temperatures for the storage of all vaccines. So why is that important? Within our units, we do provide information related to what our typical mapping is as far as temperature is concerned. We do this as a manufacturer for the pharmaceutical industry. Many of our major pharmaceutical customers require this information as part of what they call their IQ, OQ, PQ, or validation requirements to ensure that they can support that they are properly storing product to the FDA to maintain the viability of their own products. And this same product is the ones that we are using for vaccine storage within the industry for our end users that are storing vaccines and administering vaccines for critical applications. So domestic units, this graph here shows that the temperature mapping of a typical domestic refrigerator, and if you consider the applications is to keep your lettuce and your milk cold and your yogurt cold, they don't have as critical a storage requirement as vaccines do. So a typical vaccine storage refrigerator or critical storage refrigerator will have a much tighter temperature uniformity and airflow to ensure that even when whether the refrigerator is full or empty, that the products are still maintained as far as viability is concerned in ensuring that, again, and I'll reiterate this, that we are not freezing vaccine and that we are keeping the critical storage temperatures within the range that will ensure their viability long term. We also offer under-counter refrigerators and freezers that meet this requirement. This is, and we've struggled with this throughout the years with customers that are often looking for the least inexpensive solution for critical vaccine storage. For this application, our units are very cost-effective. But there is a difference between a unit, an under-counter refrigerator that is purchased for dorm use and that is purchased for critical storage use. Our units are stackable. They both meet the requirements for vaccine storage. We do provide mapping information that does show that we stay well within the temperature requirements, even during the defrost cycles for the refrigerator. To ensure that we're keeping product critical storage requirements for the products within the range that is needed. What is also important for vaccine storage is that most units that are made for the applications of critical storage for vaccines have remote alarm contacts. So it allows you, many of our customers will connect those dry contacts. They're basically switches that show that when a unit goes into alarm or a refrigerator goes into an alarm condition, should something happen, someone's left the door open, the unlikely event in our units that there is a mechanical issue, that it provides a warning. Most manufacturers, and Panasonic is no different, will provide solutions for external cloud-based monitoring so that end users get notification via phone should a excursion event occur related to the vaccine storage requirements within their units. And this is one thing that we have heard from customers, especially over the last several years, because of the requirements to document internal and external temperatures of the refrigerators and freezers for the state health inspectors and for CDC. The requirement, of course, is for those of you that are working with vaccine storage, is that twice a day you write down the temperatures related to what you're reading for the min-max temperatures on the units twice a day to ensure that the products are being stored. But what we're increasingly hearing from end users is that their state health inspectors are asking, well, what's happening in the middle of the night when no one's here? If your pharmacy is open during regular hours, is there anyone that's monitoring the temperature during the night to make sure that if there is an excursion, that is properly noted and that the vaccines weren't compromised? Again, we're hearing that quite often, and we do provide solutions for customers that are able to automatically track that temperature, the min-max temperature, so that they're assured of the products that are stored within the refrigerator are maintained within the proper range. One of the things we hear quite often from customers that have come to us to look for vaccine units, vaccine critical storage and vaccine storage units, is that they often will purchase whatever was the cheapest on the market, or whatever they wanted to afford at that time, and then come back to us and once they found out that the vaccine had been compromised, and then start taking stock of how much it actually cost them. We've heard ranges from customers who have lost anywhere from just a few vials of vaccine, but typically we're hearing customers that have lost with improper storage or even not being aware of it, which is worse, of anywhere between $4,000 and in some cases for distribution centers well up into the millions of dollars worth of product for vaccine storage. So there's several things to consider when you're purchasing a vaccine storage unit. Is not only the temperature uniformity, but the reputation of the manufacturer that is providing the products that you are purchasing. At some point or another, you have to consider the fact, what happens if this unit breaks, and how likely is it to happen? And again, look for companies that have a strong reputation for providing products that maintain those critical temperatures day in and day out without causing a refrigerant leak or a relay sticking that causes heaters to stay on, so that the vaccines are protected, and your investment, not only in the vaccines, but your reputation for being able to administer quality vaccines remains intact. That's a critical element when you're looking for these units. So we have many different units that are made specifically for vaccine storage. We also have other units that aren't made for that, but we do not offer those into the vaccine storage market. We're very critical of what products within our product portfolio and our product lines that we will offer customers for the applications. Every one of our products used for vaccine storage, we can provide cut sheets explaining the temperature uniformity. And this is typically a 16-point mapping of how the units perform over an extended period of time, typically 24 hours, so that we can capture defrost cycles when they do occur within the products. Now, all of our units have defrost cycles, to show our end user customers that the temperatures are maintained within the critical storage requirements for the products. This is critical. I would strongly suggest that when you are looking at vaccine storage units, that you do ask the manufacturers, whether it's Panasonic or whether it's other manufacturers, that they provide this information on how their units typically map for temperature applications. Once the NSF requirements come into play, this will be incorporated within the requirements. But for now, it's still important for you to ask for this sort of information. Manufacturers should be able to provide it. And the reason I mention this is that many manufacturers, regardless of whether their units are true vaccine storage or whether they're modified domestic units, will claim to meet the requirements, but the onus is on you, really, to ensure that you are storing your product and your vaccines within a unit that is capable of meeting critical storage applications such as this. So for us, I've mentioned some of our products. Our vaccine refrigeration product lineup spans all the way from small under-counter refrigerators all the way up to larger freezers and combination units that are made specifically from the ground up for critical storage. They're not modified food grade units. Many of you may see some of the larger units out there, or even some of the small undercounters that may look like something that's in a dorm room, or may look like something that's in a pizza place where you grab your pop out of. And the reality is, in the industry, is many units that are used for vaccine applications are modified versions of commercial or consumer products. In our case, our products are made specifically from the ground up for vaccine storage, designed by our engineers for the applications. And that's why our units look more elegant and they look different. They're also very strong in energy consumption as well. Strong meaning that they are very economical for their energy consumption, for those of you that are concerned about that. And there are changing guidelines related to that as well, but that's maybe a topic for another discussion. So if you require more information on this, these are actually the pictures of the units, and as I've mentioned previously, some of the units behind me are sliding door units, our combo units, one of our under-counter refrigerators that are behind me that we have immediate stock on and immediate delivery available for all of these products. Is in a month or two, we're going to be coming up to the vaccine season, and that's traditionally been a time when a lot of these products move out of our inventory very quickly. So this slide highlights our entire product range that we have available for vaccine storage. Sliding door units have the advantage of they're actually fairly shallow, so that you get immediate visibility of the product inside. We do have air curtains inside those units so that we're not blowing cold air out into the room. And for restricted areas and for ease of access, the sliding door units have been very popular with many of our customers, and many of our, in particular in Canada, they've been very popular within the drugstore chains and the provincial health authorities for those applications, because they can move in and out of them quickly without losing a lot of temperature. We also have, as you'll see on the bottom three units to the right, those are our combo units. I should mention that the one on the left, the MPR 715F, we do not offer for critical storage, and that is mainly because of the temperature uniformity. It's too close to the temperature requirements, and we prefer not to sell that for those applications. But the 415F and the 215F are very capable of producing, maintaining proper temperatures for critical storage for vaccines, as do all the other units. Our MPR 721 comes with sliding drawers or fixed shelves, or adjustable shelves, I should say. And the MPR 1411 is also a double door unit that's used for vaccines. So as you can see by these pictures, they don't look like a typical commercial unit, and that's because they're not. They're made specifically for the purposes of vaccine storage. And a lot of the requirements for vaccine storage is related to the type of defrost we use. This really creates the difference between what is critical for vaccine storage and what is critical for the difference between a domestic unit and a vaccine storage unit, and it's the defrost method. We use what's called cycle defrost. We are not the only manufacturer to do this, but this is something that you should look for as far as some of the needs related to how vaccines should be stored. What cycle defrost means that there is a temperature sensor that only allows a defrost cycle to happen when it's absolutely necessary. So when you've been in and out of the unit a lot, when you're in a very humid environment, and the potential for ice buildup happens in the refrigeration system, this only initiates a defrost when it's needed, and it stops it once the ice is melted. So unlike domestic units, which typically have a timed defrost whether you need it or not, that can often create high temperature spikes, these types of units are used to have cycle defrost methods, which are electronic methods of defrost, electronically actuated, electronically terminated, so that you do not have major temperature spikes, and it maintains the viability of the product. These are critical for the units that are used for the storage of vaccines, and one of the reasons why CDC does not recommend domestic units for this application. But again, I'd like to reiterate, make sure that you are choosing units that are made specifically for this application, and not ones that are used that are modified food grade units that claim to be used for vaccine or created for vaccine storage application. We also have a full line of freezers. We call it our MDF, medical deep freeze line, all the way from the under-counter units, as I mentioned, to combo units that have small freezer sections that maintain critical storage temperatures, vaccines, all the way up to 24 cubic foot models that are used mainly for distribution centers and for pharmaceutical industry for vaccine storage. So we have a full range of products for those applications. Again, our undercounters, we have a full range of undercounters specifically for vaccine storage in our undercounter family, as well as the monitoring systems. And just to stress that many of our customers will use external monitors, standalone monitors. All of our units have access ports to allow the use of external monitors within the units, and to be able to put their own temperature monitors in. As we move forward, it is likely to be a requirement. It is now that external monitors be calibrated based on manufacturer recommendations to ensure that the temperature within the refrigerator or freezer simulating vaccine temperatures are calibrated. We do have the access ports for that. Also at Panasonic, we provide solutions for customers whether they want to monitor locally and take readings of their temperatures on paper, in paper form, which many of our customers do, all the way up to cloud-based solutions that have been implemented by many of our pharmaceutical and chain customers and larger facilities, so that they can be notified of any excursion of temperature to make sure the vaccines are protected. So cloud-based solutions that maintain records for our customers and make sure that excuse me, and ensure that all of their records are in order, so that should the health inspector, the state health inspector, come in to take a look at their records, that all the information is properly documented in a format that can't be modified, and that all temperature excursions within the units are cataloged, and that there is an audit trail available for it. So we provide the solutions for vaccine storage customers right from one end to the other, from consulting and working with you to be able to provide solutions for your requirements all the way up to your monitoring, and ensuring that at the end of the day, the goal for all of us is to ensure that the entire vaccine chain for the United States is kept safe, and that we provide product and solutions that ensure that we can meet all the needs for everyone, every one of our customers that have critical storage requirements, not only for vaccines, but as we're seeing emerging quite a bit these days, is for targeted biologics that also have the same requirements of being protected from being frozen. So this market will expand quite a bit. It is expanding now. We are seeing many of our customers, including the pharmaceutical companies, where their pharmaceutical reps are purchasing products or receiving products such as ours for the distribution of biologics. The same storage applications, as I mentioned, are for vaccines, also apply to biologics. They can't be frozen in almost every case, and they must be maintained between 2 and 8. So in a nutshell, in closing, I'd like to say that, just to recap, when you are looking for critical storage products, make sure that when you speak to the manufacturer that you don't just take their word for it, that they meet vaccine storage requirements. Make sure, I would suggest you make sure that the manufacturer prove that their product does meet all those requirements at any place within the refrigerator or freezer where the vaccine is stored, that they can back that up with temperature mapping data that shows how their product does perform, and to ensure that the support network is there as well. Nothing is worse than having a technical problem, which, as much as we don't like to admit it, it does happen once in a while. Make sure that you have a service support network available to look after your problem that is well versed in your requirements. Companies such as ours that work within the space of critical storage typically use service companies that work within the laboratory environment, and they understand the urgency and the requirement to respond to problems very quickly. Again, and our monitoring solutions also reflect that as well. They're very specifically designed for these applications for critical product storage. So make sure that you, in closing again, just make sure that you look closely at the product that you're getting, the reputation of the manufacturer for product storage, as well as the ability of the products that you're being offered to maintain the viability of the vaccines that are stored within the refrigerators or freezers. That's basically all I have. If there's any questions, certainly bring them up. I know several of you may look at this, may be looking at this after the fact. We are certainly available to ensure that all of the products that we have available, that customers can have access to them, that we do have, of course, brochures. Our information is online on our website. And all of our reps are fully trained, and our sales support people are fully trained on the product. So as I mentioned earlier, we have several different units, including the top and bottom refrigerator. The top section is the refrigerator. The bottom section is the freezer that maintains temperatures to minus 30 degrees centigrade. We also have laboratory or pharmaceutical grade freezers. And this one is a brand new unit, so we have packing to ensure there's no damage in it. But adjustable shelves within our refrigerators, our under-counter refrigerators that do maintain temperatures between 2 and 8 degrees centigrade, with fully integrated alarm systems in the doors, with remote alarm contacts so that customers can connect their security systems or their external alarm systems within the unit. This model is called the PRL 6111W. This one is called the MPR 21215F. You won't remember these numbers. We remember them because we see them every day. And this one's called the MPR 514. Sorry, I had the number wrong. We've gone through several revisions of that one. So this one has sliding doors. It does have adjustable shelves. This also comes, this one and the larger unit that's double the size also comes in a unit that has slide-out roller shelves on them and roller racks. We also have a 4-door unit that's 11 cubic feet in size that allows for access to product without disturbing the entire contents of the unit. So that's not all of our products behind me. As I mentioned, we have many different product lines available, all the way from a 2.5 cubic foot under counter all the way up to 25 cubic feet or larger for the double door refrigerators, up to 48 cubic foot of storage, all of them to meet the requirements of 2 to 8 degrees centigrade or minus 15 to minus 15 storage for frozen products. So if there's any questions, I wanted to make sure that we left a little bit of extra time for any questions anyone might have. Certainly for those of you watching it later, please feel free to reach out to us with anything that you may, any questions you may have, or anything that you would like to comment on. Not only for our product, but as the storage requirements change for the United States, let us know what your feelings are, and we'll make sure that all of that information gets incorporated within the steering committee for NSF. Are there any questions?
Thank you for that informative presentation. Okay, so before we get started on the question and answer section, here's a quick reminder on how to do this. Questions can be sent via the green Q&A button at the lower left of the presentation window. We'll try to answer as many questions as we can. So I will give you some time now to put in some questions and see if there are any today. Okay, great. The first question, are you aware that vaccines lose their potency if frozen? Did we hear that? The question was, are you aware that vaccines lose their potency if frozen?
One of the things that we should mention, one other thing that I neglected to mention is that the Cardinal app, does contain our product spec sheets related to our uniformity. So that information is available through Cardinal Health on our products. If there is anything that you specifically require, because sometimes our customers have different temperature requirements than the standard, we can provide those as well. But feel free to use the Cardinal app to find the information that you're looking for.
Okay, the next question. Are you looking for proper storage for your vaccine?
Is there anyone out there that is actually looking for, or was a couple of questions that we had that are coming up in chat as well, I believe. If not, then was everyone aware that vaccines are affected by the temperatures that they're stored at, or is aware of the fact that typically frozen vaccines must be kept below minus 15 degrees centigrade? Just kind of wanted to get an idea if everyone is aware of that, of the storage requirements for both vaccines and for refrigerated and frozen vaccines.
Okay, and the last question. A moment. Would you like a Panasonic sales rep or customer service to contact you to further help you?
Well, and the final thing to mention with that last question is related to our product line is available through Cardinal Health, and we support all of the efforts of Cardinal Health in relation to the distribution of our product. And so we have a full field group of sales personnel and experts within the field of vaccine storage, both within our U.S. operations here in Chicago, as well as all of our salespeople throughout the United States. So Feel free, if you have any questions at all, to reach out to your Cardinal reps or through our reps to ensure that any questions that you might have, we can answer for you to help you along the path of the decision for purchasing the proper product for vaccine storage. And if you have any comments related to or questions related to the upcoming changing regulations for vaccine storage, certainly feel free to reach out to us.
If there are no more questions, I would like to once again thank Joe LaPorte for his presentation. Do you have any final comments?
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. I hope that this has given you some insight that you may or may not have already known related to vaccine storage. I know it can be a little bit dry, but these are very important things to consider. All of us here are dedicated to ensuring that we produce quality products that maintain the viability of vaccines without causing any issues with the products themselves. We are very much dedicated to ensuring that we are maintaining the cold chain requirements of all vaccines of 2 to 8 degrees, minus 15 or lower, related to the frozen temperatures. And again, I would like to, hopefully, we've given you some insight, and I'd like to thank everyone who has taken the time to either review this online or have taken the time today to view this presentation. And again, should you have any questions, please feel free to reach out and contact us at any time. And thank you for your time today.
I would also like to once again thank our sponsor, Panasonic Healthcare Corporation, for making it possible to bring this presentation to you. Today's webcast will be available for on-demand viewing through September 30th, 2016. You will receive an email alerting you when it is available on demand and posted on labroots.com. You are welcome to forward this announcement to any colleagues who weren't able to join us today. Thanks for logging on and participating in this broadcast. Be sure to attend the next presentation today, sponsored by Sarah Care Life Sciences, Innovation, Quality, Performance, and Confidence, a product demo presented by David Hall, Senior Director, Strategic Alliances, starting today, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. We hope to see you again. Goodbye.